I've got your gains up on our screen, so that's good. It's a very comprehensive, so we've got that, so we can refer to that as well. I might actually, so in other words, rather than it'll just make us a bit smaller with the record, but in actual fact, I might have that shared as well, so that people can see, that this is how a good gains looks. I believe. I think this is good. Funny story and true story. I once shared a gains to where I used to live, a chapter in Rockingham, and they were very impressed by my dance card gains, and they actually used it as their education piece the following week. I thought that was quite impressive. I was a bit shocked.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I remember when Ivan Meisner was in Perth and we had lunch with him. I remember him talking because Hazel Walker, who was here at the time, had said to him, there's somebody in the room that's got a gains on every single member in the chapter, and that's what it was. Just that's something I do. I do the gains, and then this is before I was paperless. I put it in a folder, so I had like this thick of, because I've been.
Oh, really? Everybody's in paper.
Yeah, and that was before I went paperless, but now I've just got them all electronic. But I will just always do one because I was taught that that's the first thing you do.
Well, that is impressive. And is that, I guess, we probably should at least, because Ben, you're not about to get away with being able to stay quiet as two slightly more mature BNI members get to speak. So, Ben, I know you and Suzzanne were connected already on LinkedIn, but have you had the chance to chat or communicate at any stage yet?
No, so I connected with her because we were looking for business coaches in the Grapevine chapter in Midland, and I was like, right, okay, time to go find some business coaches on LinkedIn. So I was just connecting with business coaches, and then she got back to me, and I was like, great, and she's like, I'm actually already part of a chapter. And that was my first chapter, and I'm pretty sure that's who Liz. I'm pretty sure. Do you know Liz? You know Liz Stanley?
Very well.
Because she always sits there and goes, "Oh, we had this business coach in our chapter, and she was amazing." And I was just like, oh, "Okay, so I'll see if I can find one as good." And it turned out. I was like, "Oh, this is probably the business coach that Liz."
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, she's lovely. I love that chapter. I was in it for about maybe 5 years, and the only reason I moved was because I was driving 40 minutes there and back, and I had a lot of I had busy family at home, and I was also a triathlete, so I had 4 kids at home and a triathlete, and I was just like, I would just love to have BNI at lunchtime. And so I put that to BNI, and they said, well, start your own. So I did. So I started the first lunchtime chapter in Perth.
A
high noon.
High noon in Karana.
Yeah, because I live in Karana and I worked just down the road.
My parents live in Karana. There you go. And I did go to BNI in Karana, but I went to a 7 o'clock one. So I assume that not Karana actually, was on what's the main road to the beach, to Scarborough Beach? Anyway, Innaloo. I went to Innaloo is where I went. In fact, it was a good chapter. It was it would have been probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Now I just caught that you. There's a couple of things I caught there, which I've got to ask, because these gains, when you just make it gains, is maybe not in here. But I was going to ask you firstly, triathlete, and when Ben said, it reminded me, Sue Stanley is over here, right? Sue Stanley is an absolute CrossFit. What was she, like aerobics champion or something? I went to a lunch at one stage and got to meet Sue Stanley. I don't know if you know Sue Stanley, but she's diminutive and she's beautiful. She's a lovely, lovely lady, right? I don't know if you ever come across Sue Stanley in your path?
No, the name rings a bell, but no, I haven't. No.
There you go. Well, she's, I'll connect you on LinkedIn. She's an absolute jet. But so are you still doing any triathlons, anything along those lines?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I'm swimming in the Bustleton Jetty swim on the weekend. And I'm doing, there's another event down there, which is a swim run event. And I do a bit. I haven't competed at such a high level for the last 3 years since I became a grandma. And I've done 20 years of competing. So I thought, I've ticked all the boxes. I think I still train all the time, but I just pick and choose anything fun I'll do. If it's a fun race, I'm into it.
At the risk
So,
of
yeah.
me showing off in front of Ben, but I did the Busselton swim each year when I used to be down there. So, or when I used to live there. There's the stingers is the only bad thing, right? The stingers are just the amount of people you're trying to churn through the water with. But I love the swim. It's so beautiful down there. Yeah,
Oh,
it's fantastic.
absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I really love it. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully there's no stingers.
And so the next obvious lineup was you become a grandma. So how many kids have you got then? And is that your first
Yes.
grandchild?
Yes, I've only got one grandchild and
Yeah.
he's 3. So,
Wow.
and he's absolutely beautiful. So that's good.
Oh,
and I got told yesterday I had to have the morning off to look after him because COVID had changed the school timing starts. I was like, okay, fine. That's a good thing.
I saw Mrs. Hale the other day, so I know Ben's got parents, but certainly no kids or anywhere near grandkids. But I actually have a 25-year-old, 23-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So I've got a young child in prep, and so
Wow.
he was really crook yesterday. It was my wife's birthday, but we took today out to sort of celebrate her birthday and our anniversary tomorrow, right? So it's sort of a anyway. But the reason I mentioned that is because I kind of figure having a 5-year-old is a bit like being a grandparent, except that I don't have to give them back. You know, I get to keep playing stuff with him. It's good fun, yeah, and I reckon it keeps you young. So
they're gorgeous. They're absolutely so cute when they're young. I love having them, which is good.
I might have jumped on Ben's parade here because we were going to get Ben to ask you about other interests, and maybe you could ask that, Ben. You got any other interests, Susan, you haven't told us about? Well, I think I just asked it for you, Ben. Sorry, I did it again.
Yeah, yeah. There's not much else in terms of the interest because you do triathlon, like you stay relatively healthy as well.
Oh, I can see Ben's reading off a screen. I should be looking at that, shouldn't I? That's where we are. Look at that. Oh, there you go. Of course.
Yeah. So,
classical piano is pretty interesting, though. That's a good mix between musical talent and sporting ability.
I'm not talented at playing classical piano. It's my insurance policy for Alzheimer's. So okay. I've never learned music in my entire life till about 10 years ago. I decided that I would learn classical piano and I love it. And I have a teacher, I have a coach, and I have her once a week. And I love playing classical piano. I love it. But it's really hard work for me because I have no musical bones in my body. But I feel so worked out at the end of every piano lesson and I feel so elated with the endorphins of stretching my brain and just being in that moment. So it's just, it's just something that I'd always wanted to do. So I decided to do it.
Oh, I've got, I hear you. It's interesting, isn't it? In terms of that onset of Alzheimer's and that sort of thing. You don't ever want that to happen. One of my mentors, his wife is now, and my nan was similar. So it's just a horrible thing to have to see and go through, right? Particularly for the sort of loved one that's often the carer and become full-time carer. But also language is another thing. So again, my wife is Vietnamese, but just trying to learn Vietnamese is good for the child. But I think, as you said, I haven't heard people sort of say that before, but similar to music, also learning a second language is actually another thing that sort of, helps you, I think, keep the mind active, that sort of thing.
Yes. And the brain does have plasticity in it. And if we, that old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. And if studies have shown that if you use your brain, continuously for pushing the boundaries and creating new neural pathways, it does. There are, studies that have shown that does help. So same with writing the book. I'm not a creative writer at all, and that was on one of my bucket lists was to always write my book, and it took me forever. But thank goodness I finally got it published, done.
Yeah, and I think the book is clearly what we'll talk about, and I think this is all playing a bit to your strengths, right, too, because the book is a lot about this sort of stuff. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I basically put all the major challenges in life that we've had thrown at us and parallel with that with a theory that needs to be in place in business when you're in a situation similar to ours that's thrown at you, with case studies as well. So I've tried to make it as practical as possible, but yet with the emotional heartstrings to pull you through the boring practical theory, the boring theory of business planning.
Yeah. And so Ben touched a little bit on it, but and you did mention it. Maybe other than BNI, clearly a lot of those other things. Do you do a lot of speaking, or probably the opportunity to go abroad now with speaking becomes not as easy? But I guess there's online stuff. How's the speaking sort of? Is that something that you've done pre-book as well as post-book?
Yeah, I generally probably would have one speaking gig a month that I accept, and it's just if I have the time and if I'm aligned with what they do. So I spoke for a couple of large non-for-profits over the last few months where I went and spoke to their team, and they wanted me there physically, and so I went and spoke on areas of interest, whether they were about inspirational things that they wanted for their team, or whether they were more around planning, just depending on what they needed.
Yeah. Do you find that the benefits of being, say, with the speakers and the Coaching Federation, the Sterling Business Centre, is there spin-off benefits to that, to the more formalised BNI side of things?
Not really. I just like to be involved in the community. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
the best, and I said it in my book, the best business decision I made when I started my business was joining BNI the same week I started my business. That was the best business decision. There's no comparison to any networking group. You can't compare BNI to any of them because it just is a total different level. It's building a family. It's building a business family, a business hub, a business. It's your business family, really. If you're a small business like myself and don't have that, that's my lawyer, that's my bookkeeper, that's my accountant, that's my web people. They're the trusted inner circle. Whereas these other networks that I have, they're great to go to and be a part of, but they don't have the accountability and they don't have that small connection like BNI has.
Yeah. I guess, and as well, I don't know for you, Ben, but because clearly Ben's starting out a journey that's going to be a lifetime journey, right, in terms of career and work and that side of things. But these sort of networks clearly, triathlon, I think you've said you're part of probably for 30 years, that sort of thing. So, they're not something you build overnight. I think that's probably fair to say with it. So, so it's just about turning up and being involved. With your skills, because that's something I left off. I said I just did gain, not skills. I forgot to ask about the S. But the skills that you have now, how much of that has been taught, Susan, and how much did you bring? Because are you still under that Action Coach banner?
Yeah, I am, because I just love the Action Coach family.
Yeah.
In life, we hear about franchises and how people get, have bad experiences and get burnt, and franchise always promise the world and give them nothing. But the Action Coach global family is just incredible. Like, any request I want is answered within about 5 minutes, and I've got global support 24/7, and they're amazing. They're just like, when COVID hit, we were on a group call pretty well, I think, every day with people supporting people on how we could help our clients the most. They're not about money. They're all about helping change people's lives. I mean, our vision is to re-educate business people to have successful businesses. It's about re-education. So I will always be part of them. Not that I use all of the models all of the time, because if someone wants me to come and speak, that's on what they want.
Yeah.
It's got to be relevant.
So it's funny that I listened to your Business Booster series probably a month after I listened to Brad Sugar's, also was on there, right? So how long have you known Brad, and how long have you been part of that Action Coach family, as you mentioned, the global family? Or how long's he been over in the States now? He must have been there for a while, has he?
Ages. Yeah. So I met Brad in his late 20s, and he came to Perth and spoke at the convention centre, and my husband and I had our own business. We were front row seats, and we did the 5 ways, and we thought it was amazing, but we thought we knew it all because we were making really good money. then he phone canvassed us himself 2 or 3 times from Queensland and said, hey, do you want to coach? Because he had our details from going to the workshop, and we were like, no, we know everything. About 3 years later, we realised we didn't know everything, and maybe we should have accepted Brad Sugars as our coach. And we then enlisted a coach in Perth, and we wanted a face-to-face coach, so worked with a coach. And that was a great experience. We got our business to a level where we could put a manager in. I was sick at the time, and so we wanted to have some quality time with the family, and took a year off and backpacked the world with the kids, and happily took an income every week and had a manager run our business. And from that experience, I wanted to be able to help other people have that. So then when we sold our business and I was in my early 40s and realised I wanted to reinvent myself, I went back to action and said, hey, I wouldn't mind being a coach. And so, yeah, it's been a very long journey, and that was over 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Always been gorgeous. He's got a big ego, but a really big heart to match. He will always help, always buy you beer, always be the last to put his hand out to help. I've seen him in Perth when he's come for events, and people have contacted him on Messenger, and he's like, come down to the bar, we'll be down there, I'll buy you a beer. And he always is happy to talk to everybody, stays there till 1 o'clock in the morning, so that everybody gets to have a bit of Brad. And that's wonderful to see that so many of these really successful entrepreneurs are superstars and forget to be human.
Yeah, a bit of Brad, I like it. It's funny, our marketers, we've all done our disc, right? We all most of us, I think it'd be fair to say, Ben, you would be one of them. Where they've come out as coaches, right? So in terms of their style, they're most likely. Are you coach or no? You said maybe you came out and said you're not a coach.
I think I'm the only Dify social media marketer now that's not a coach.
So which is kind of funny. What was yours, Ben? Do you remember off the top?
I was at Dynamo.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, they've got a few fancy new names now. I'm not quite sure what that one is, but I keep saying I need to redo it to find out what my one is. But one of the things, you know what Dify stands for, right? So where Dify is do it for you, right? So effectively we don't coach, but Ben's been very quick to say, well, in fact, Steve, you say you don't coach, but we do coach, right? So in actual fact, when we do things for people, we also then tell them what sort of car they're realistically driving in terms of their social media channels. We're telling them, explaining to them, there's a whole lot of education that goes with it, I guess is the point, right? And then to get the most out of things, there's a lot of things they need to do to help themselves and to help us help them. And so there is some coaching elements. So would that be fair, Ben? I think Ben was the one. Yeah. Ben sort of pointed that out. But that's awesome. And we're it would be lying to say that we weren't. When I saw that you were also part of the Action Coach Network, and having listened to Brad, then listened to you, I'm thinking, from our perspective, we're very niche, right? So we need people to tell people the sorts of things that they need to do, and we spend a lot of time what marketers call marketing, and all Ben and myself and the marketers at Dify Social are all graduate marketers, right? So what marketers call marketing, businesses just call business. And so what businesses call marketing is marketing communications and often sales, right? So we're at sort of lengths to explain to them we're actually a social media marketing communications business. And often your biggest problem isn't your marketing communications, it's actually other elements in your business. So in other words, if you haven't got your pricing model right or your distribution or other elements. And so then we have to say, maybe you should speak to a coach. Because realistically, no amount of stuff that Ben does for you or Facebook advertising that we do is probably going to make you any better, because it may well just make things more problematic because you need to get other elements sort of fixed up, right? So for us, we have a particular model where you basically sit down the bottom of the house that need to basically get their shit together first before, in a way, we're going to get maximum effect, right? So anyway, how we find out often, but yeah. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, that's why I always say start with a plan. I say to people, plan, and they go, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, show me your business plan. They're like, I don't have one. And I'm like, well, would you live in a house that was built without a plan? because it would fall down. And that's why 80% of businesses don't go, too well, because they haven't actually planned, okay, well, we need this much at the bottom of that profit loss to pay our mortgage and pay our children's school fees and to live. So what does this much need to be, and how much margin is it? And they don't actually reverse engineer or look at actually planning success. They just wing it. And it's not that good a strategy.
You are incredibly accomplished, so I'm going to skip that for a second. Ben, you've got a question there about burning desire, and I think Susan told me this when we first connected, so I'm going to get you to ask that question. Can you see that question?
Has your burning desire changed over the years, or is it still the same burning desire, would you say, from 10 years ago, or was it?
It's got a lot clearer, definitely a lot clearer. I basically want to be a millionaire of hearts. I want to touch 1 million people's lives, that's how clear it's got, because I've just heard, I'm sick of hearing of that word of want to be a millionaire and millions of dollars and everything. And it, especially with, what's happened and us spending quality time with our families more because of what's happened in the globe, it makes us realize that no amount of money can replace spending quality time with your family. So that's why I want to change people's hearts and touch 1 million hearts instead of focusing on the dollars. Now, when I was 33, I was given 5 years to live, and now I'm 55. So there must be a reason why I've hung around for so long. So I want to make that reason to have a big impact and leave a big legacy. Why not?
I noticed the word preach there. Do you have faith as well?
I have faith that there is things that are way out of our control and far, far out of our understanding. But I'm not affiliated with any, denomination or anything like that.
Yeah, fair enough. No, but that's I love that, a millionaire of hearts. That's pretty good. That is a very strong burning desire. I think it's fair to say. I'm going to ask that we know this tells us a lot about you. Are you that much of an open book? Is there anything people may not know about you?
Oh gosh, 55 years is a long time. Had a nervous breakdown when I was about 7 and got put in a child's hospital for 6 months.
Wow, that's tough. Jeepers.
There
you go. Well, okay. Well, I guess that's not something that you necessarily always. There is always, particularly as an overcomer like you clearly are, you've clearly overcome a lot of things and then become a testament to that. So that is pretty incredible. Ben, you've got the next one down there. Just one, if you want to ask that, because I think again, there's some fairly obvious things here, but maybe we hear it. Suzzanne, tell us.
Yeah. What are some of the keys? What would you say some of the keys to your success have been? Like, what would you say some of the, pivotal moments and decisions that you've made?
Yeah, probably just attitude. I was just always brought up to play the Pollyanna game as a kid, and always, have that glass half full attitude, because if you're looking at any situation with a positive attitude, with gratitude of having that opportunity to make choices, that you'll always have a better outcome. So whatever situation that I've been in, whether it was with the tragedy with my husband, whether it was when I was, ill with GFC, whatever situation I've had, I'm just lucky that I was always brought up, predominantly from my mum and my upbringing, to always have that Pollyanna positive attitude, and with a heart filled with gratitude for whatever situation is thrown at me, that I'm going to learn through this. I'm going to be stronger through this. I'm going to be a lot more resilient through this. I'm going to be a lot more grounded through whatever situation or ball I've had to actually handle. And having that attitude has meant that I've got through everyone still happy, smiling, alive, and able to share it with other people, so that I hope other people will learn, because sometimes people just crumble, and I just want them to know that, there is hope, and, they can get through whatever it is that is being thrown at them. And I wouldn't have got through my challenges if it hadn't been for the support and help of the people around me, and I want to be that support and help with other people when they're having challenges, so they can pick up a book or read an article and think, hey, that person got through that. Well, maybe I should try this, and maybe I can get through this challenge after all.
Yeah. Well, you certainly are an embodiment, it sounds, of what you, as you said, you practice what you preach. So I think that's clear. In terms of BNI, do you find that I'm just mindful of time too, and one of your girls knocking on the door and saying, "Susan, it's time to go." I was going to say, in terms of context spheres and power buddies, power teams, do you work in that sort of with any of the ones within your chapter or a cross chapter within? What's your BNI's name again, Suzzanne?
Well, I'm in Western Edge, in
Western Edge.
Colorado.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
I have my most of my trusted people are within the BNI family. Like my commercial lawyer, he's just done wills with all my clients. My bookkeeper, I've been with them since they started. They're in my BNI. My accountant's in BNI. So yeah, pretty much they're all part of the BNI family. My finance broker, he does lots of finance for my clients. He's in my chapter too. So yeah, we do. We don't have official power teams. That's something that I'm trying to set up. Yep. But I do have my business, people that I go to that are part of BNI. Definitely.
It's just something I've taken to listening to a bit more of the BNIU or Skooks as it's called, and just clearly some chapters are really active around that sort of the power groups, maybe meeting once a month and happening. Others, it's probably more those contact spheres but anyway, it's always interesting just to find out. Ben, you've got one down there, and I don't know if last, maybe it's for somebody like Susan, maybe around customers and the people that you get referred to or the people work with. Maybe you could ask a little bit around that, Ben.
Yeah, so like, who have been like your last / current 10 sort of clients that you're working with, and like, did you get them referred from like BNI or cross chapter BNIs, or were they contacted to you directly?
Most of my referrals are through BNI. Most of my clients come through BNI, and mainly in the business planning door. That's generally because that's the level that they're actually at in their business. And I don't take many one-on-one clients on because I have a limit. So most of my one-on-one clients I've had for many, many years. So I don't get many openings for one-on-one clients. So they really come through the business planning side of things, and they're just very, very varied. When I think of the last few, one's opening up a women's gym, and another one is an electrical company. They're just all very, very varied. A photographer, just all sorts of businesses, and they're normally visitors or friends of BNI members. Generally, a painter. He was in the chapter. He's in our chapter. So just people understanding that they want to increase their business acumen by getting a proper plan together. And it's not actually about having that bit of paper and having the plan. It's about the process of going through that, which is what you guys know about, and identifying things like who is your target market, and what is special about you, and what are your margins in your products, and what's your top 20% of your products that you sell, and what are your fixed expenses and your break even, and pulling all those jigsaw pieces out of their head and putting them together for them. And that's an awesome experience. And they're pretty much, I've done the stats on it, it's about 89% or something are BNI members or friends of members who I've done plans with.
Oh, so BNI is high. Yeah, we're generally quite high in that as well, and similar. It's great, isn't it? I mean, realistically, where could you say that most of your business comes from one particular element that actually, in the scheme of things, doesn't cost you that much, I guess. And so I was only going to say, how do you plan out then? Are you a 60 seconds, a 45 seconds, or a 30 seconds each week, your group?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Do you sort of plan out who you're going to ask for, given you're probably not wanting one-to-one? So over time, you would have had to change that in terms of who you're asking for, in terms of your referral request. Do you niche into industry at all, or do you give an avatar type, or how do you normally ask?
Not particularly. I will generally give an example of something that's happened through the coaching or through a business planning workshop and give that experience. Like one, I had a guy who, we were looking at margins, and I said, there's some products that you have more margin in than others. And he said, I've never done that exercise. And this is a third generation family manufacturing business. Third generation, never done that exercise. So I said, okay, well, for homework, come back and let's have a look at the products. And he came back and he was like, that was incredible. And I said, what? And he goes, do you know some products we have twice as much margin in than others? And I'm like, amazing. What would you do that?
Yeah. There are some incredible businesses out there, I must admit. Like sometimes it is almost like they're successful in spite of their perhaps lack of knowledge at times. Maybe just being able to stick around is a good thing. That's super awesome. The other thing is I was going to ask around, and I think I've lost my train of thought, but it was, or maybe I know what it was, just around qualifying perhaps the people that you want to work with. Because I imagine everybody probably would like to have the benefits of a business coach. My question would be, is everybody ready? Is there certain qualifiers at times? Is there certain barriers that people put up in front of themselves, or maybe you perhaps look at and say, well, maybe come back to me later? I don't know. Is there any sort of qualifications that you would see to work with Suzzanne Laidlaw from a planning perspective?
Definitely. I would, I like people to do a few hoop jumping first, because I want to see if they're going to do the push-ups or not. I don't want to waste their money or my time. So often I'll say, have you read my book? If you haven't, read it. If you don't read, listen to it on Audible. If you're not a member of Audible, the first book is free. So you don't have to spend a cent and invest a few hours at actually listening to the reason behind why it's important to have a plan. Yep. And then the next thing would be asking them about their financials up to date. I wouldn't let anybody come into a workshop if they didn't actually have access to their financials. If they said they were in a shoebox or in a dumped in a Dropbox, I would say you need to get them sorted out, because how can we measure something that you don't know what we're measuring? So we need to make sure that the financial. So I would say go and see a bookkeeper first. I'll recommend one. Mine in my BNI if you don't have one, and then come and see me. Or often if they're having other issues aside from the business, they're having a marriage breakdown or a partnership breakdown, I'll say go and sort that out. I've got a good divorce lawyer in our chapter. Sort that out first and then come and see me. So, yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic. Well, I think, Ben, have you got some other questions you want to ask of Suzzanne? Because what I was thinking off the top of my head is a good way to sort of probably finish things off would be to say, I might put in a request to get a copy of your book for each of our marketers, but I'd be insisting that you sign it for them and send them across, but I'd send you the details. So would you see that as something that that would be worthwhile for them to read? As would they be one of the million hearts that you would make sense for them to have a read of? They're all sort of under 25 graduates kind of aspiring to take on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say they would find it refreshingly easy to read and very relevant, and it would give them some ammunition as well for questions to ask some of their colleagues or some of their clients, and also some case studies that would help them that they could use in your interactions with your clients.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think I also went through. I'll just stop sharing. I don't need to share the screen. You know what you've written, and we know what's there now. And I've highlighted the key things that I want to sort of make sure that it's there. But that is crucial, like you said. So I probably 18 months ago went through a franchising program to be able to franchise my business. However, COVID struck, and I decided to employ instead. Ben was one of 1,100 applicants and 36 interviews, and then. And we're kind of trailblazing a path, but it is a bit unique. You would know in any licensed franchise type model, they often sort of say you've got your technician and you've got your sales. And in our business, we kind of win business and we do the business. And so ones like Ben, it's because I've always done that. I've had to kind of fight people to say, no, I think people can do this. I think with BNI and with the right people like Ben, that we can do this, right? So, but we often will need help, and I think part of the time is even for me, because I had a different background in local government, but actually understanding the mind of the small business person. And so it sounds like to me, if you're reading What's Your Plan, in a way it would help us think more like the small business person as well, right?
Absolutely, because most of the book, like the first 3/4 of the book, is all about our journey of starting a business and running the team in the business, and the profitability and the leverage of the business, which is all the things people want to do in small business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been fabulous. Thank you so much, Suzzanne.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute joy, and congrats to you, Ben, for being a very special human being. Oh, that's amazing.
Did you see?
Thank you very much for that. And
yeah, sorry, go Ben. Sorry.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for your time today. And I am going to be interested in reading your book, because when Steve said, "Do you have any questions, Ben?" I was like, "I want to know about the 3 businesses that she started and how she did them." But now that you said it's in the first 3/4 of the chapter of the book, I'll now have to read the book to find it out. So answer that question for me.
I do. If you could do me one favor, Suzzanne, go and have a read of a review that Ben received from a cleaning services business in his chapter. I've just put it across all of our social media, so you should be able to easily find it. But it was, to paraphrase, it was, "I love my guy Ben. He makes me look like a star, and I'm busy as." How Aussie is that? I'm busy as 5 stars.
Well, there's another word that goes at the end of that, but we can't say that on a recording.
No.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, to be honest, that's not something we guarantee. So we love it when they say it, right? So at the end of the day, we work with them, so we love it when we hear it. So fabulous, yeah. So yeah, he's having a good week, our Ben. Thank you so much, Suzzanne, and we'll be definitely writing our 1-to-1 up as well, because that was awesome. And
yes, and thank you so much for having me. And I will, I will really appreciate that. It's wonderful to share.
And what I might do, if it's okay with you, I'll share it with our marketers. But realistically, I guess in talking to you, you've shared a Gains here today. I could probably make that if people have the link or if people want to watch that. Are you happy for us to share that so that people can have a listen? You never know. There might be a few people in those million that might want to have a listen.
Yeah, okay, that would be amazing. And if it touches someone's heart for the better, that's a good thing.
Fabulous. Thanks, Susan. We'll give the book a bit of a shout out there as well. Awesome.
Thank you very much.
See ya.